It's day 16 of the hush money trial, and the day the star witness for the prosecution will give his testimony. Here's Trump arriving at court.
Mr. President, to see Michael today?
Mr. Trump, who do you have with you today?
Is there anything he could say that could put you in jeopardy?
So thank you very much. Greatly appreciate you being here. The New York Times just came out with a poll that shows us leading everywhere by a lot. This is the cover story, and I think you'll find it very interesting, but I'm sure you've all read it. Leading in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Georgia, and Nevada. Nevada, we are leading actually by 12 points, which is generally a Democrat state. I think we're probably leading in New Jersey. We had a rally, over 100,000 people this weekend. A lot of the mainstream media didn't want to say how many people, they didn't want to cover it. In fact, I don't think anybody did. I hear the crowd was not shown by the mainstream media, which is what they tell me, but that's par for the course. A couple of quotes that just came out. Fareed Zakaria, no friend of mine. The Trump trial is politically motivated. I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump. Mark Levin, great guy, brilliant man. Our judicial system has blown up, it's broken. Andrew McCarthy, Trump should be acquitted in Manhattan, wholly independent of the plethora of constitutional infirmities in the prosecution. It should be thrown out for the most basic of reasons. Bragg cannot prove his case. Got no evidence. And I'm innocent. This is a political witch hunt, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. And it's, I tell you what, the appellate division on the judges should step in, because what this judge is getting away with is disgraceful, including the fact that we have thousands of people, we had 100,000 people in New Jersey. They would like to show their support. It's like an armed camp outside. You can't get one person within 3 blocks of this courthouse. Greg Jarrett, we're not, I mean, you take a look at this statement, we're entering the 4th week, and there's still no evidence whatsoever connecting Trump with any criminal wrongdoing. A crime that's not charged, it's a crime that, in which prosecutors won't even tell the defendant what it is. I have no idea what they're even doing. We have records, and they talk about bookkeeping. The only thing down in the bookkeeping is that we call a legal expense a legal expense. We don't call it a construction expense. We don't say for concrete work. We don't say for electrical work. We paid a lawyer a legal expense. And we have a legal expense is a legal expense. It's marked down in the book, quote, legal expense. It's perfectly marked down. The other side doesn't know how to handle it, but they say, let's indict him anyway, because that's what Biden, this all comes from Biden in the White House, by the way. And they have their top people here. Because when he can't put 2 sentences together, he's the worst president in the history of our country. Can't speak, can't walk off a helicopter, can't walk off a plane, can't walk off a stage. And the only way they think they can win is if they can do something with Trump. Because we have an incompetent, the worst president in the history of the United States of America. Jonathan Turley, after Bragg closes the prosecution's case, the defense will make a standard motion for dismissal. Mershon, who is so corrupt and so conflicted, like no judge has ever been, and the press doesn't want to write about it, but you know exactly what we're saying. Mershon should grant that motion for dismissal. There's been no showing of a crime. They failed to protect the rights of the defendant from a baseless, politically motivated prosecution. That's Jonathan Turley. All very talented legal experts. But the big thing today seems to be the Times. I'm sure the Times is thrilled. I respect them for at least letting it come out. And there it is. It's Trump leading by a lot. in every state. Every swing state, leading by a lot. This trial is rigged. It's dishonest. It's a disgrace to New York. It's a disgrace to the country. I should be out campaigning now instead of sitting in a very cold courthouse all day long. This is a Biden prosecution. It's election interference at a level that nobody in this country has ever seen before. This is for third world countries, not for the USA. Thank you very much.
Mr. Trump, who's with you in the courtroom today?
Roy Hannibal Lecter. Do you plan to testify?
It was finally time for the star witness for the prosecution to take the stand, Donald Trump's former fixer Michael Cohen. He started by telling the court he never even wanted to be a lawyer, but his grandmother did not give him a choice in a family filled with doctors and attorneys. He further explained how he left his law firm Phillips Kniser to go and work for Trump, and that he and Trump settled on an annual salary of $375,000. Cohen testified about his unusual place within the Trump organization. He was given the title of Executive Vice President and Special Counsel, with an office on the 26th floor of Trump Tower, not far from Trump's office. But, Cohen testified, he was not part of the General Counsel's office at the Trump Organization. Instead, he would report, quote, just to Mr. Trump. Cohen said a lot of his work for Donald Trump initially involved renegotiating invoices from vendors. After he arrived, there were about 50 vendors that had not been paid. He said he helped pay back all but 2 of the vendors that just went away, meaning they were never paid. Cohen says Trump would thank him after he got the vendors paid for the price he wanted, saying things like, fantastic. That made Cohen feel, quote, on top of the world. Cohen detailed the more aggressive aspects of his job as Donald Trump's fixer. If the press had printed something that angered Trump, I would express to them their need to either redact or take the article down, or we would file an action against them, Cohen replied. Did you do it in a strong and threatening manner at times? Hoffinger asks. I would say so, Cohen replied. Not all the time. Often. Throughout the trial, witnesses have testified to being on the receiving end of that strong and threatening persona, but they have used far more colorful language to describe it. Cohen said he would report back right away whenever he resolved an issue Trump had asked him to address. Quote, as soon as you had a resultant answer, you would go straight back and tell him, especially if there was a matter that was troubling to him. If you didn't immediately provide him with the information and he learned it in another manner, that wouldn't go over well for you. Then Cohen told the court that working for Trump, who he often called, quote, the boss, was an amazing experience in many, many ways. But at times, Cohen said, he had to lie, adding it was what was needed to resolve the task. The prosecution asked Cohen how he communicated with him, or who he would get a hold of if he couldn't reach Trump directly. He replied he would communicate by phone or in person if Trump was in his nearby office. He would sometimes reach out to Trump's children, his assistant Rona Graff, and bodyguard Keith Schiller, or, later, White House staffer Hope Hicks. Trump never had an email address. During some conversations he would comment that emails are like written papers, Cohen said. Trump told him there was, quote, many people who have gone down as a direct result of having emails that prosecutors can use in a case. Cohen also acknowledged that his job required him to lie and bully on his boss's behalf. The only thing that was on my mind was to accomplish the task and make him happy, Cohen said, referring to his former boss. Asked if he sometimes lied for Trump, Cohen replied, I did. Likewise, he said he acted as a bully at times. Michael Cohen went on to describe his work for Donald Trump on his 2016 presidential campaign, including his effort to start a diversity coalition to back Trump. Cohen claims Trump's supporters were, quote, very white, which was a clear issue. Before Trump announced his run, Cohen alleges the ex-president warned him that it would cause negative stories to surface. You know that when this comes out, just be prepared. There's going to be a lot of women coming forward, Cohen claims Trump told him. Susan Hoffinger pressed Cohen on whether Trump was concerned about Melania finding out about the affairs. Cohen said, he wasn't thinking about Melania. This was all about the campaign. Trump's legal team has argued that Daniels was paid off to protect Trump's family from the story. To convict Trump, prosecutors will need to prove to jurors that Trump's intent was actually to influence the 2016 election, as Cohen has just alleged. The topic shifted to Stormy Daniels and how her lawyer, Keith Davidson, warned that the adult film star planned to tell her story to the Daily Mail if the deal fell through. In need of cash, Michael Cohen first asked Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg if he would front the payment, as Weisselberg made more money. The Trump executive demurred, saying he was not in a place financially to make the payment. With the looming election making the matter urgent, I ultimately said, "Okay, I'll pay," Cohen testifies. Weisselberg assured him he'd be paid back, Cohen tells the court. Later on, Cohen says, "Alan and I spoke to Mr. Trump, and we expressed to him that I was going to front the money for the hush money payment. Trump was appreciative," Cohen said. Then the prosecution got to the heart of the case, Donald Trump's alleged reimbursement of Michael Cohen's hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen told the story about how he went to Trump Organization Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisselberg to discuss how he'd be repaid for his $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels. Cohen brought Weisselberg the bank statement recording the transaction. We again see a crucial document that includes the math of Cohen's repayment, scratched out in Weisselberg's own handwriting all over the bank statement. Trump paid him double to offset taxes and conceal payment. This is so Cohen would still receive $130,000, as they expected he would lose about half after taxes were taken out. Cohen says this is not typical for reimbursements at the Trump Organization, but he notes that Trump himself approved Weisselberg's payment plan. The ex-president told him it would be classified as, quote, legal services. We'll hear more from Cohen tomorrow when he returns to the stand. Here's Trump leaving court.
Because they chose to show up, they view this as a scam. I think it's a terrible thing that's happening to democracy in this country, and we have a lot of them. They want to come and say, just stay back and pass lots of laws to stop things like this. J.D. Vance, what's going on in that courtroom is a threat to democracy, and we cannot have a country where we get to prosecute your political opponent instead of persuading voters. A.G. Byrd, as you know, very highly respected from Iowa. Let the American people decide who the next leader of the free world will be. Politics has absolutely no place in this courtroom. This is all politics. Andy McCarthy, great legal analyst, said none of this is illegal. There's nothing illegal. It's called politics. There's nothing illegal. A lot of people say that. They're all saying that. The only person who won't say it is the judge, because it's a rigged deal. He's conflicted. You ought to check that out. But everybody's saying there's no crime. Leo Terrell, up until right now, there's not a single shred of evidence that President Trump participated in a crime of either falsifying records or hiding a campaign or state or federal finance charge. None of it. There's been absolutely nothing. Look, they're doing great. You know why they're doing great? They've kept me here for 3.5, 4 weeks instead of campaigning, and yet we still have the best poll numbers. Just came out in the New York Times, as we discussed before. Mark Levin, let me put this as succinctly as possible. There's no crime, state or federal, with which to link Donald Trump or anyone else. This is a case looking for a legal basis. There is none. There is no crime. It's Mark Levin. Again, J.D. Vance, to the American voters who are watching this, the one opportunity you get to speak up against this sham prosecution and to say the American people should elect a president, not use corrupt DNC prosecutors to help them get elected, which is exactly what they're doing. Andy McCarthy, again, bragged, has no authority to enforce federal law. The NDA payments were not campaign expenditures under federal law. That's why the FEC and DOJ, which do have exclusive authority to enforce federal law, took absolutely no action against Trump. They took no action against me. They looked at it, they said it's fine. The only one that did is Soros-backed DA Bragg, who turned down the case. By the way, he turned down the case, and it could have been brought 6 years ago, 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago. They bring it right in the middle of my presidential campaign. Bragg. He said we had no case. You know, if you go back, take a look at your earlier records. When he came into office, he turned it down and he was angry because of what took place. When he saw that they we're going to use this scam, he was angry. Even Michael Smirkanish of CNN, a person 4 or 5 weeks into a trial ought to be told exactly that which they're being prosecuted for, and that hasn't happened. You know why it happened? Because it didn't happen for one very simple reason, because there is no crime. Here's Mark Thiessen. I don't think things are going very well for the prosecution in the court of law. And in the court of public opinion, they're doing even worse. Matt Whitaker, another day at trial, and they're keeping the president off the campaign trail. Byron York on the hush money trial, which is not hush money. Majority of voters in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan say Trump cannot get a fair trial. That's too bad. That's really too bad. Andy McCarthy, again, Bragg knows exactly what he's doing. It's improper, completely political case. Maybe Mershon, Judge Mershon, is having second thoughts. They haven't come to close to proving, they have not come close to proving fraud or that any fraud has taken place. There's no fraud here. There's no crime here. This is 4 weeks of keeping me from not campaigning. Jonathan Turley, can't imagine any competent lawyer would not be embarrassed by what has happened in this courtroom. This day is truly going to go down as a day of infamy for the New York legal system, which is true. The whole world is laughing now at the New York weaponized legal system. Watching this unfold in that courtroom as a lawyer is really deeply disturbing. They keep on referring to these documents. The documents don't move the ball. The documents show that the NDA and a payment that is not in dispute, this is Jonathan Turley. They're not unlawful, and as a federal campaign contribution, there is absolutely no problem. There's no problem here. You know, the FEC wrote this off. FEC, the Elections Commission, Federal Elections Commission, they looked at this years ago, and they took a pass. They said there's no problem here. Tim Scott, objective is to keep Trump off the campaign trail. That's all they're trying to do, keep him off the campaign trail. Here's the New York Times that just came out a little while ago, where we're leading in every state, the 5 key states, we're leading very substantially, I might add. So it's really a very sad day for the country. It's sad for New York. I mean, New York, that a judge who's highly conflicted at a level that nobody's seen before can possibly, just think of it, and you should go out and check it out. But we have a corrupt judge, and we have a judge who's highly conflicted, and he's keeping me from campaigning. He's an appointed New York judge. He's appointed. You know who appointed him? Democrat politicians. He's appointed. He's a corrupt judge, and he's a conflicted judge, and he ought to let us go out and campaign and get rid of this scam. Every single legal analyst, even CNN, even MSDNC, they're saying, there's no case here. Thank you very much.
When's the next time you'll be on the campaign trail instead of mingling with wealthy donors?
What do you mean he's conflicted?
Thanks for watching. If you want more updates from this trial, then please subscribe to my channel. Until next time.